All right, hey y'all. I'm going to give everybody else a few more minutes to get in, but if you want to look at the poll, make sure you answer it. I just want to see what audience I have today, who's in school, who's still learning, everything like that. If you can hear me, please say something in the comments. If you can't, definitely say something in the comments. So it looks like most people are not in their schools right now. Coronavirus, gosh. All right, so I'll give everybody one more minute to get in, and then I'll start going through the content. But while I have you here, what's not in this stream? On Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, I'm hosting an office hours for an hour, which is basically just like I'm going to be here on screen. You can put questions in the comments, in the question box. I'll answer any of them. I'll go through anything. It'll be like, I'm your teacher, and this is tutorials. You can ask me any questions about human geography, what you need help with reviewing for the exam, any concepts. And then on Friday, I'm also hosting another daytime stream at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. And that one will be how to prep for the exam. You know, I'll give you all my study methods that I used last year for human geography that got me to a 5. And hopefully I'll be able to answer some more questions than more, anything review for the exam. But it is 6:02, so let's get into some globalization and urban infrastructure, AP Human Geography. All right. This is our 5-0 weekly calendar. Make sure that you tune into other streams. I am again teaching AP Environmental Science Gentrification tomorrow, so if you're in APES, come and check out my stream. And make sure you check out all the other 5-able subjects. Look on our website for our blog posts and study guides, and a replay of the stream later. So I already covered what's not in the stream, my office hours on Thursday, and then on Friday, I will share my exam AP Humans prep strategies. Those also include using 5-able, by the way. And as always, follow at Think 5-able on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and other social media platforms where you can find us. All right, now what are we going to talk about today? Since it looks like a lot of you are out of school, I'm going to make this stream a little bit more lesson-based than normal streams. It won't just be review. So we're going to include a little vocab check at the beginning. What is globalization? The roots of urbanization, size and space of cities, the roles of cities. We're going to review the theories and models that you learned in Unit 6. This is our last Unit 6 stream. And then at the end, I'm going to have an extra 10-minute. I'm going to do testing what I'm going to do in my office hours with you guys on Thursday. So please go and sign up, save your spot for that stream before it gets full. All right, let's get into the content. Oh no. Vocab check. Okay. Take about 1-2 minutes while people are still getting in. Ooh, we're getting a lot of people today. Look at these words. If you do not know any of these words, put it in the comments. Put it in the questions. I will either try to go over what those are right now, or I will use them in the stream and explain them then. But if you don't know what any of these words, like if you just don't know what one of these words is, put it in the comments. If you don't know all of these words, just put like IDK, like just put something in the comment like these are words, like give you 1 or 2 more minutes to do that. All right, so it looks like some of you don't know Shanty town, smart growth, and then some other words. That's not bad. So I don't have any resources there. So, okay. So first, let's see. So I won't be using anything about shanty towns or favelas in my stream. I don't really think so. So basically, a shanty town is it's very poor, really bad put together housing. Let me pull up a picture for you actually real quick. Favelas are what shanty towns are in Brazil. So your teacher, you may have seen this picture online before. Let me share my screen with you real quick. So here's what a shanty town looks like. All of these small, tiny, poorly put together homes. I have a question. Is shantytown the ghetto? Kind of, but it's like a ghetto like on steroids. Like everybody is so packed in. Like nobody's legally living there. It's really common in Brazil. In Rio de Janeiro, they have this one part of the city where there are a ton of favelas. Like nobody goes there. Like tourists try to go there on tours and half of them don't come back. Like yes, these are also called squatter settlements sometimes, but more often than not, you'll hear them referred to on the AP exam as shanty towns, favelas in Brazil, or I guess sometimes squatter settlements. All right, what other words will I not be using in the stream? If you still don't understand what a favela or shanty town is, say something in the comments, put it in a question. I'll make sure I go over it later. Smart growth. All right. So smart growth is the opposite of Houston, Texas. Smart growth is Portland, Oregon. So Portland, Oregon is one of the best planned and zoned cities in America. On the other hand, Houston, Texas has no zoning laws. By the way, I'm from Dallas. If you want to put where you guys are from in the comments, happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope that some of you guys are celebrating. But smart growth is where you plan out every step of what you're doing when you're building or expanding a city. So near me, there's this place called Firewheel Mall. It's an outdoor mall, but they also have apartment buildings and a few small grocery stores, and it was planned to where people could live within a walking distance. New urbanism is a kind of smart growth where you're able to, you're able to grow like smartly. It's not rapid growth. Smart growth is the planned development to curb the urban sprawl. I hope that that's a vocab word on here. I don't think that it is actually. Smart growth is just an environmentally sustainable, equitable neighborhood. It's walking around just like new urbanism. Okay. I have a question. What is redlining? Okay. Let me help you with that. So 2 words, redlining and blockbusting, that I have on here often get confused. They're the second to last 2 words. Redlining it's a systematic, detailing and drawing out of usually what are Black neighborhoods or ethnic neighborhoods. So redlining in the US can be like denied financial services and banking or insurance. So basically, they look at where you live, and if you live in a poor community, if you live in a Black community, they're going to deny you your loans. They're going to deny you any other services such as healthcare. And a lot of places that are redlined are also going to be ethnic. They're going to be filled with the minority. They also might be lower income neighborhoods. These redlined neighborhoods are basically where you can't get money, you can't get anything done because you're stuck in this cycle of you live in this area, you're not going to get these bank loans, you're not going to get these high-paying jobs, you're just not going to. All right, I hope I helped with redlining, and what that often gets confused with is blockbusting. Now, blockbusting, I'm sorry, if I'm going too fast, please stop me. Please stop me, like I'm being serious. So blockbusting is where real estate agents will convince people, like usually white property owners, to sell their houses at low prices out of fear that Black families will move into the neighborhood. So basically, real estate agents will use racism to try to push white people out of neighborhoods and lower their property values just so that these real estate agents can make money it's an illegal practice in the United States now. But yes, I think that just don't confuse redlining and blockbusting. Those two on the exam, there was 2 multiple choice questions about them last year. They all had the exact same answer choices. And my previous teacher had said that too many kids just mix up those 2 words. All right. So let me look at some other words that you guys don't understand. Rank size rule, I will definitely be covering in my streams. CBD is Central Business District. Redlining is discrimination. Okay, so here's what I have in the comments. Redlining is discrimination from banks and insurance companies, etc. And blockbusting was real estate agents taking advantage of racist views. Basically, I think that that's the easiest way to put it. Yes, good job, Allie. I think you got the most important parts out of me saying way too much. Okay, let's see. Smart growth, Shantytown, cover that. Everything else I'll be talking about in this stream. The only other one that I'm not going to be talking about in the stream is Hinterland and this one right here. If you don't know that, put it in the comments, and I'll try to talk about it later in my stream. All right, guys. So my first content, what is globalization? Globalization is where everybody on the globe is connected. Globalization is what we live in today. So you can look at this picture. That little box is right there. I'm sorry. Let me try to fix that. Let me see if you can actually see that picture, hopefully. Okay, it's fixing my... Well, I'll ask the question in the chat. Are we going to get some trivia questions, or are you just going to teach? Oh, today I'm just teaching. There's no trivia questions today for my stream. Sorry, I guess our creators just didn't make them this week. Sorry, guys, if you were looking for trivia. But there will definitely be trivia next week, and if there isn't yet, then I will work on that for you guys. Okay, so globalization. Everyone on the globe is interconnected. So if you look at this map right here, you can see all those lines stretching from, like, let's see, over here we can see, like, this line from America all the way over to, what is that? There's one in Asia, there's one that's going to Europe, Africa's going to South America. So we're all going to be connected. This really happens with technology, our advances in technology. Globalization first really started with the telegraph and the printing press. Today, we have our mobile phones that we all love and adore so much, that can help us meet people across the globe. Like if you're ever on social media or you're on a site like Omegle, you can meet people from Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia without even trying. Like you might make online friends that are just from other countries, they're from the globe, and you think that's normal now, but that's globalization. It's characterized by integration and interaction. So that means that we all share ideas and we all interact. Like people travel now, people travel around the globe, and that's just globalization. We're bringing me and my ideas somewhere else in the world. I travel from Texas to another place with my ideas. And basically what that means is that I can bring my ideas somewhere else. So what I do in America can affect someone in Russia, just referencing one of these lines right here. And here, let me see if I can get my pointer up. Yep, this works. So this line can affect someone in Europe, or this line can affect someone in Russia. I mean, our whole world is interconnected now. So globalization sounds awesome, right? But it really just depends on who you ask. Globalized pop culture hurts folk and local culture. So I'm going to bring back in some of your vocab words from Unit 3, your culture unit. So when we have one network of globalization where everyone around the globe is connected and we're all sharing the same ideals and ideas, sometimes we stop having our own ideas, or we stop practicing our traditions that have been happening for half of a century. But at the same time, it's good because it allows businesses to be connected across continents and for people to exchange their ideas around the globe. And these ideas that they're exchanging are mostly popular culture ideas. People aren't exchanging folk culture because that's supposed to stay in one place. but we're seeing the diminishing of that with things like assimilation. And that means that our cultural landscape is going to look the same. All right. I hope you guys understand globalization. It's an important concept in AP Human Geography. I'm going to be tying globalization into urbanization in a minute, A, B in the chat, or I can just do it right now. So how is globalization connected to urbanization? That question. So when we're sharing ideas around the globe, or we're doing business, for example, we need somewhere to meet. In New York City, people come from Hong Kong, London, Paris, and they're coming in to do business in these cities. And the growth of cities, for example, in America, I'll use because I know a lot about that. So when people came on the boats, like even the Mayflower, like that was an example of globalization. People came over to a new place and they started cities. And then with the Industrial Revolution, we had the sharing of new ideas and processes that were good to help power our economy and industry. And the Industrial Revolution allowed for globalization because of new inventions. We were able to share ideas across the globe. And the Industrial Revolution caused urbanization. And if this still doesn't help you to connect globalization to urbanization, I don't know. The AP Human course and exam description said urbanization is connected to globalization. So just ask College Board if you're still confused. All right, so now let's talk about the roots of urban living and urbanization. So the first societies came when we had the Neolithic Revolution. So this happened a long, long time ago, 4000 to 2000 BCE. Long time ago. Don't think that any of you or your parents were born then. I mean, I don't even think that that's possible. But from the Neolithic Revolution, what happened is we realized we don't have to move around all our lives. I don't have to do all this work. I can just settle down in one place, put some of these tiny little seedy thingies in the ground, and then they start growing, and I can just live in one place. They call that agriculture. Happened in the Fertile Crescent, which is Southwest Asia and the Middle East today. And some cities came from these settlements. The cities are what started urban living, urbanization. Mesopotamia came from the Fertile Crescent. It came from the Neolithic Revolution because, I don't know if you've learned this in your class yet, but there are two precursors for urbanization. One of them is social stratification, which means that there are class systems developed, and some people are rich and some people are poor. They are stratified across the spectrum of rich, poor. They're businessman, doctor, lawyer, nurse, teacher. But then the other precursor is agricultural surplus, which is what allowed Mesopotamia to become a city, because after they had all of this agriculture in this one place, they were able to get together and say, ooh, okay, I have the most crops, so I'm going to be richer than you are. And so I'm going to be the governor of or I'm going to be the ruler of the city, Mesopotamia. That's what I want to call it. And that allowed urbanization, urban living to be born. People started to live in a city. There are two urban settlement theories. So the first one that I talked about in Mesopotamia, part of the Fertile Crescent in Southwest Asia, it started in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was the first urban settlement. It was the first settlement at all. It happened like before 2000 BCE, like that's a long time ago. So the first theory is that Mesopotamian ideas diffused west to Egypt, east to China, and south to India's Indus River Valley. So they went whoop, whoop, and then all the way whoop over here. So that's the first theory. The second theory is that 6 different places all had their own ideas. We had ideas in China. Ooh, you know what? Let's have a city. Mesopotamia. Ooh, oh, what if we all live together? Indus River Valley. Oh, what if we all just start a city? Nile River. Ooh, we have water. Maybe multiple people can live here. Mesoamerica. Ooh, we need one place to worship our gods, and that's going to be a city. Peru. Maybe let's build some weird sculptures and pyramids and call it a city. So that's basically what that theory says, that urbanization came from 6 hearths. Hearths are basically where something starts. It's the central place that things start. So on the AP exam, you'll never be asked to compare these two urban settlement theories. You'll just need to know that some people believe this, most people believe that. So really, most people believe the second settlement theory, and that's what most books will cite, like your textbooks. The Rubinstein textbook, I think, talks about the sixth Hertz, and so does de Bilge. So, I mean, that's really all you'll need to know. You just need to make sure that you know it. And you really just need to know the sixth Hertz from this. Mesoamerica, which is also known as Mexico, Aztecs, Peru, the Incas, Nile River Valley in Egypt, Mesopotamia in the Fertile Crescent, Indus River Valley in India, and Huanghe, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, please don't go roast me in the comments, in China, off the Yangtze River. All right, so what's next? Size and spacing of cities. So this is Christoller's central place theory. So basically, also, if you see any of these screen clippings that have a white background and say like number 23, I got those all from the AP Human Geography 30 Models and Theories to Know for Exam Day blog post that Amanda wrote. And I have that linked as a resource on the Fiveable page for the student if you want to go check out any models or theories from other units or even more from Unit 7. So this happens to be number 23, Christoller's central place theory. It explains the size and spacing of cities. So goods and services are going to travel a threshold distance off the urban center based on how far people are willing to travel and work for consumption. Based on a number of assumptions, they create hexagonal shapes that are small hexagons, big hexagons, even bigger hexagons. And it creates a honeycomb of cities surrounded by smaller towns and markets. So let's just use Los Angeles, for example, for the central place theory. So we have our one big city, LA, and then all these blue dots are going to be all the farmers markets surrounding LA. Then over here, we're going to have Orange County. Over here, we're going to have Santa Ana. And all the way over here, we're going to have Bakersfield. All the way over here, we can have like Santa Clara. I'm sure I got all that geography wrong around LA, but we're going to ignore that for right now. The point is that people from LA are willing to travel to these farmers markets right here in this light blue hexagon, that boundary. But then people from this town are going to want to travel to these. And basically, because circles don't really touch and fit together, Christoller said that hexagons are the way that we can explain the size and spacing of cities, how far they're spaced out. Because we have a town, then we have two market towns going off of it, some smaller villages around the border, and then another town in the middle that's not as big as the city. I'm sorry, I have completely ignored the comments for the past minute. Where can we find the models? On the resources page on the Fiveable. Yes, thank you for putting the link in the comments, Sandy. All right. So now we're going to talk about the sizing of cities. So there are a few things that you need to know describing the size of cities. These are some of the vocab words from before. Megacities are cities with basically a population of over 10 million. They are in a small space, and some of these are world cities. World cities are cities that are important to the international economy. They have great size. They're huge. Lots of people live in them. Lots of people travel to them. So megacities are basically, it's just the biggest classification of city that we have in human geography. The next two sizes, primate cities and rank size rule, are going to be interconnected. So I think I'm going to talk about rank size rule first. So I saw that a few of you in the comments didn't really understand what rank size rule or hadn't learned what that was yet. But rank size rule is basically, it's some of the most math that there is in human geography. So we have the largest city in the country. So that could be like, for example, the US does not fit into the rank size rule, but let's just say that it's New York City. New York City is the largest city in New York City is the largest city in the United States. So what we have is New York City. And then the second largest city, let's just say, is LA. So the rank size rule says that New York City should have double the population of Los Angeles. But Los Angeles should have half the population of New York City because it's the second largest city. So let's say that it's not, but let's say that I think that Phoenix is one of the big cities. So Phoenix is going to be our third largest city. So Phoenix should have 1/3 of the population of New York City because it's third. And then let's say for kicks that Houston is the fourth biggest city in the US and New York is the first. So Houston is going to have 1/4 of the population that New York City has because it's number 4. So basically it's saying that the population is inversely proportional. I'm sorry if those big words confuse you, just forget it, to the size of the biggest cities. So the highest city is going to have the most population. Okay, so I'm sorry. Okay, so primate cities. So primate cities are going to be the opposite, countries that don't fit into the rank size rule. So primate cities are going to be where the first largest city in the country has more than double the size of the second largest city in the country. So Paris, France, for example. The largest city in France is Paris. The second largest city is Nice. Nice, France. I don't know if you know where that is. Then it's Lyon and some other cities. But Paris has a huge population, like giant, vast, awesome, big. If I ever use the word awesome, it just means like it's really big. It's just another word that I'm using to get my point across. So Paris has over 9.6 million people, but Marseille has only 1.3 million people. 9.6 is definitely more than double 1.3. Like, there's no competition. Like, the first city is definitely more than twice the size of the second largest city. The point there is that primate cities are the ones that don't follow the rank size rule. So let's look at the comments. Are there countries that don't follow either rank size rule, or does every country have to be rank size or primate? No, they don't have to fall under. Usually the AP exam will give you a map and or a chart, I guess, and it'll have the populations. You can see like 200,000, 100,000, 50,000, or you can see like 500,000, 100,000, 2,000. Like, you'll be able to see what's a primate city and what's a rank size rule country. So an example of rank size rule would be Thailand. So Bangkok has 7.5, the capital of Thailand, which is the largest city, 7.5 million people. And Nathparar, I don't know how to pronounce Thailand's second largest city, has about 4.8 million. China, Canada, Australia, and Brazil are examples of countries which lack primate cities. So they're not rank size and they're not primate, to answer your question, Mary. The US lacks a true primate city. New York City has a population of 21 million, and Los Angeles has a population of 16 million. Chicago has a population of 9 million. So the US is not primate or rank size. Most countries don't fit into this rule. These are not new, but they're not too old, but they're not new at all. So it's a theory. I mean, no theories are ever 100% true. Germany is a pretty good example, usually, of the rank size rule. Usually they'll give you a chart from 2008 with, population sizes on the AP exam. So hopefully that'll help you. You'll be able to definitely see. And then the last size of city, alpha, beta, gamma. Basically, some organization has decided that they're the best in the world, and they get to rank how big cities are and how important they are. Alpha cities are the biggest and most important. Some of those cities are London, Paris. Beta cities are ones that are still important, but not as important. So I think in this category we have San Francisco, Seattle, cities like that. Oh, also Amsterdam, I believe. And then we have gamma cities, which are the least important of the most important. So we have some cities like Miami, Florida, Birmingham and Manchester, UK. Like, you'll just need to know that it goes alpha is the most important, beta is the second, and gamma. That's just another theory of how they can rank cities based on their population and most importance, because everybody gets to have their own theory and we get to memorize it, right? Woohoo. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the roles of cities. So cities allow people to live, work, eat, and trade ideas and goods. Basically, cities, you can do everything in a city. You can go to the movies. You can go to the office. You can go find a bar to drink at. You can go find a restaurant to eat at. You can go downtown to an art museum. You know, you can do everything in a city. Basically, a city is the opposite of a town where you can do nothing. Like maybe there's a gas station and a movie theater, but there's nothing else. Like an old cinema house. So globalization, urbanization. Here's your connection. Globalization hurts our cities. Oh, how long will this live stream be? It won't go past 7. I can tell you that. Like I'll probably be done around 6:55. Allie, I hope that that's okay. So globalization hurts our cities. Basically, you know, globalization started in cities. Cities are what connect us across the world. If we didn't have cities and we all lived in rural communities, it would be harder. Somebody's asking how long again? It'll be over by 7, so the stream will last like an hour-ish, a little under an hour. Okay, the gravity model. The gravity model tries to explain how, you know, the movement of people between two places based on how big the cities are and their distance. So this is where range and, oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Central Time Zone, and I forgot that you guys might not be in Central Time Zone. This will be over in like less than 30 minutes. I'm sorry, it'll be over in 25 minutes. I forgot that time zones exist for a second. The gravity model. It tries to explain how much places are connected and based on their distance and size from each other. So my example is Chicago and St. Louis. So people who live just outside of Chicago, or they might live a little further from Chicago, go to Chicago, but people who live and work in St. Louis might be closer to St. Louis because St. Louis has a smaller size and it's not like as important on the world stage. So St. Louis would have a smaller gravity pull than Chicago. They call it the gravity model because gravity is like the pull of the earth on you. So Chicago would have a big pull because it's a really important city. St. Louis is still important, but it's a little less important. And site versus situation. I hope you've seen this in other Fiveable streams. I definitely know that Shreya or Ed covered it. I hope you watch their streams too. But site is absolute location. Situation is relative location. Site versus situation is almost always on the AP test. Like, it's almost a rule that there's a question that involves site, situation, or both. So basically, situation is me comparing something like, oh, like I'm 3 blocks from Frankie's. That doesn't tell you how to get there. I could say that Frankie's Mexican restaurant is at 36.29675 degrees north and 72.978 degrees west. Like, that's absolute location. Or an address, like 3410 High Street, Dallas, Texas. Like, that's an absolute location, but a relative location could be like, oh, it's about a few clicks away from that river. You know, just describing how far it is from another place, the relative location. All right, so now let's get into some model and theory review. So Burgess's concentric zone model. This is one of the easiest, most common models in human geography. It was based on Chicago. So it basically tries to describe the layout of city in circles. What was tried to describe, and if you can answer this in the comments, what did somebody try to describe with circles, but it had to end up being another shape, something that's 6-sided maybe? Does anybody know what that is? What theory? I think we may have talked about it. If you know what it is, put it in the comments and I'll tell you if you're right. What theory is described with a 6-sided shape? Central place theory. Yes, AB is right. Kristaller tried to explain how far places were with circles, but they just couldn't, you know, fit together. These circles, like, but if it's like a, I can't do that with my fingers, but if it's a square hexagon, then you can fit multiple of them on top of each other. You can put them together. But this model goes with concentric circles, which mean that there's a middle circle, then the next circle gets bigger, then the next circle's bigger, then the next circle's even bigger. So basically in the middle, you have the central business district. The central business district is where everybody goes to work. All the business gets done here. People go to hotels here. There are usually like attractions like art museums, things like that. Sometimes there are athletic stadiums in the central business district. But then basically Burgess says as you go outward, it gets more rich as you go down each level, as you get farther away from the central business district, which kind of seems like something that it shouldn't be, right? Because the rich people should live closer to work so they don't have to do as much driving, and the poor people should, you know what, we're not going to debate how we form cities right now. The next zone is the transition zone. Basically, it's factories, abandoned buildings, squatter settlements, maybe some shanty towns sometimes. Next one is the working class zone. Number 3, single family homes. Disregard the word tenements, please. I don't know why that's on that model. Next, you have the residential zone. This is where you have your middle class, maybe your low upper class people who live here. You get yards, garages, houses instead of apartments now. And in your commuter zone, you get the rich people, the suburbs. That would be Chicago's Highland Park if you live there, Evanston, places like that. But basically, you get outside the city of Chicago after you get to Ring 3. Like once you get to Ring 4, you're definitely in a suburb now. And I don't know if you can see this, but like Chicago is on Lake Michigan right here, so it really wasn't a circle, but he just decided to use circles that got bigger. Don't ask me why. People do weird things sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, half of human geography does not make sense. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm doing right now. I will fix that. Can you sum this up? Yes, I can definitely sum that up. Guy, Burgess, went to Chicago. He saw, as you go farther away from the place that people do business and go to work, it gets richer. Closer to the central business district, we have the poor people. Farther away, we have the rich people. And they all live in like these nice little circles around. Does that make sense? Yes, perfect. So we get to downtown. The next ring from downtown is poor. It gets richer as you go farther away. And anything after the rich people, Burgess said no, but this is just a model. It's not like actual real life. But usually after the rich people, in your agriculture unit, you talked about another model that looked like this. Can anybody tell me who made that model? Von, what's his name? The agricultural land use model? Von Thunen. Yes. That model looks similar to this. Burgess tried to model his urban land use model after that agricultural land use model. Chicago actually has a lot of models. There are really no models based on New York City, which is weird, but we're not going to get into that now, the intricacies of AP Human Geography. But after the rich people, usually you'll have more spread out, less densely populated areas. You know, sometimes people say farm areas, but just more suburbs. Then you get to ex-urban, then you get to rural. All right, let's move on to our next models. So, Hoyt's sector model. It's basically a city layout where it's not all perfect circles. Everything comes in weird shapes and sizes. We love everybody here. The central business district is the center again. It's a little small circle, but then everything radiates out from there. You have a spine of high-class residential coming off of the central business district. Do you know what model or what area of the world that reminds you guys of? Where a high-class residential spine or line like this comes out of the central business district? Yes, it's Latin America. Latin America has a similar, not exactly the same, but a similar model to Hoyt's sector model. And it's based around the central business district, but then you have a spine of high-class residents, and then you have the low-class over here, the middle. We're not going to talk about that because we're talking about North American models right now. So Hoyt's sector model, basically the factories and industries are coming off of the CBD. It kind of is like the sun, how the sun has rays. You just kind of need to know what this looks like. Honestly, models are one of the most interesting things in human geography for me to look at. Like, I love looking at models. Unit 6 is my favorite unit, urban geography. And if you want to learn more about urban geography, on the resources on that Fiveable page where some of you got this models website, I also posted a link to the ThoughtCo urban geography page. And there are some blog posts and things like that about urban geography that are interesting to read if you want to. And next we have the multiple nuclei model, or as we like to call it, the 3-year-old that finger painted and decided to call it a urban model in AP Human Geography. So basically the city has a central business district, but we don't really know what's going on. So we just kind of say, oh, you know, maybe there's a Costco right here, a wholesale light manufacturing, but then we have another business district over here, and then we have some suburbs, but there's also some suburbs over here. Does anybody know what that model is based off of? What city? There are really 2 correct answers, but one of them is more correct than the rest. And while you guys are figuring it out, isn't that for fast-growing cities? Yes, it's for cities that grew not with smart growth, with the opposite of smart growth. They just decided to go all over the place, grow everywhere and everywhere. And then there are things like they call industrial suburbs. It's Detroit is kind of right, but it's not. Harrison Ullman didn't base it on Detroit. I'll give you guys one more try before I tell you, if I don't see it in the comments. No, this is North American models. It's not Mumbai. It's actually loosely based off of Los Angeles, which I don't see. I don't understand. But that's what the textbook says. So that's what we're going to go with. If you're ever asked, it's based on Los Angeles. But it does not look like it's based on Los Angeles. All right. So now that we've gone through and reviewed, any questions specifically about Unit 6, Urban Geography? If you have any questions, put them in the Ask a Question, put them in the comments. I can go back. Is sector based on Chicago? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Where Hoyt's sector model is based on is not really that important. It's based on an outdated city. It's really not based on anything in the 21st century. It was made in 1939. He never actually cited in his academic paper what city it's based on. No, I'm reading one of his research papers right now from 1939, and he doesn't say anything about what city it's based on. I still don't understand redlining and blockbusting. Perfect, I'm glad you're saying something now. Okay, let's go back to the vocab. If you still don't understand something, put it in the comments again. Redlining is where banks and insurance companies don't give you loans, they don't give you money, they don't open you accounts based on where you live, if it's a poor neighborhood, if it's a usually black neighborhood, historically black neighborhood. Basically, banks and insurance companies deny you money because of where you live, and it's usually a poor area where your address is located. Blockbusting is when you take away the real estate agents, basically kind of try to use racist fears in the early 1900s to get white people to sell their homes and started white flight and got them moving to the suburbs in fear that black people were moving to that neighborhood. And that just means that it's real estate segregation, and then redlining is money segregation based on where you live, and it's done by banks. Okay, so I see a few more words in the comments, but I'm going to go to ask a question first, see if any of those are easily answered and are related. Okay, gentrification and hinterland. Perfect. I see those in the comment section. Hinterland. I think that Allie defined it well in the comments earlier. I'll scroll up and see what he said. No, Allie asked. I'm sorry. Alex said hinterland is the market area based off the central place theory. Yes, you're right. Hinterland is the market area behind the central business district. It's based off Chris Stoller, who did the central place theory. Yes. I hope that explains hinterland. It's basically just where the market area is. Let's see. Smart growth. Smart growth is the opposite of urban sprawl. Smart growth is when you plan out where everything's going to go. and you plan things within walking distance so people can live without having to drive far to go to the grocery store, to go to a park, to go watch a movie. You plan everything together. Usually you'll see this with like new apartment complexes. They have like a movie theater and restaurants and stuff. Like in Dallas, there's a lot of smart growth going on, especially in Uptown and Preston Hollow if you do live in the Dallas DFW area. Shout out to anybody that does. But apartments are going up all over the place, but they're nicer and they have restaurants on the bottom floor that anybody can come to, or they have a small movie theater. I hope that explains smart growth. It's kind of like new urbanism, if you know what that is. I also see edge cities. Edge cities are cities that pop up. They usually come from coastal areas. That's why they're called edge cities. And it's due to the development of a larger city. Sometimes people want to get out of the larger city that they used to live in that's now becoming large to go to a new city, start a new place. Sometimes it's also capital cities that'll pop up, grow randomly. Sometimes governments like to have smart growth to bring their capital to a nicer place to attract tourists, things like that. Let's see, what else do I see? Megalopolis. Megalopolis is a big connected urban area. So the USA megalopolis stretches all the way down the East Coast from Boston to Miami. The US megalopolis includes Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Charlotte, North Carolina, and Miami, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, it's a big, long, thin urban area. It's just a fancy word that people decided to say that, lots of big cities are in the same general area, the East Coast of the U.S. I hope that gets you megalopolis. Gentrification. Gentrification is when rich people and real estate developers say, ooh, this spot looks hip. Maybe some hipsters and young millennials can move into this place. And they force the poor people who live in that neighborhood out. This happened in Echo Park, LA. Let's see, what's it called? Oak Cliff, Dallas. Washington Heights and Harlem, New York. What else? Chicago and Hyde Park, where the University of Chicago is. Basically, real estate developers and rich people try to force people out, poor people who live in the neighborhood, by raising their rents too high to where they can't pay for it, or saying that they're converting to condos. And they try to attract rich people, mostly millennials, to drive out the poor people and raise property values so they can make money. You can a little bit think of this with blockbusting, not the same thing, but they're definitely connected by a degree of separation, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that looks like all of the questions that I see. Gentrification is a very touchy subject right now. Some people are for it, some people are against it. Like, if you want to know more about gentrification, it's really popular. There are going to be a ton of news stories skewed to the left side and the right side of the aisle. Like, you can read anything that you want to about gentrification. Just make sure you're looking at your sources when you're reading articles about things like gentrification. I hope that I have helped you with all of your vocab needs. If you have any questions about Unit 6, you can ask them now. I'm sorry if I go too fast. I know I've been told that before. I tried to slow down a little bit, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. If this is your first time at Fiveable, I hope you come back, look at us again. Please sign up for my office hours and how to prep for the AP exam tips on Thursday and Friday this week. They're daytime streams at 11 a.m. Central and 12 p.m. Eastern. They should not last more than an hour either. I think that for the office hours, I'm just scheduled to be there for an hour from 12 p.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. Do your time zone calculations for that. I really hope you enjoyed this stream. I will go back to the stream calendar for the rest of this week. This is only the nighttime normal streams. I was wondering, a question in the comments, I was wondering if there's ever going to be a review units 1 through 5. Sorry, I realized how little my teacher actually goes over. Yes, me too. Thank you, same. Yes. Fiveable is doing a special deal called Cram Passes, and basically we hope, fingers crossed, that AP exams might still happen in a way that does not get us all infected with coronavirus, but we're going to be going through and reviewing all of human geography, cramming all the stuff that you need to know. Also, there will be structured reviews for human geography. I will go make up some streams right now, put some of them on Crowdcast and Fiveable, see if we can get any more review streams. Yeah. If you need any other resources, feel free to come to my office hour stream on Thursday. I think I might be able to, if you put something in the comments, I can give you specific review resources for different units, different topics that you need. Yeah. All right, if I think that that's all, that article is amazing. Yes, the Thought Co and the Models and Theories are both awesome articles. If you have any questions, I'll still be around in the comments, but I'm going to end the broadcast right now, and I hope you have a great night. And as always, remember to follow Think Fiveable on social media and get updates about new streams. All right, have a great night, guys. If you have anything else, keep me in the comments. Ask a question. I will still be here doing my post-stream responsibilities. So